Welcome to the Business Growth Spotlight, where we shine a light and talk with business leaders from all over the world to share their insight and expertise so we can all grow together. I am your host, Heidi and the co-founder of the Spotlight to Scale Accelerator, where we drive revenue for companies by making sure they're seen as the go-to expert and authority in their industry versus just another product or service. And today, I've been having some laughs. I am smiling ear to ear. If you don't see me and you're hearing me, I hope you can feel it, because I am like, we've just been having some fun behind the scenes. And I really want to talk into her love story, but I can't do that on this episode. So we're going to have to come back to that another time.
Yeah.
But I'm joined by Ursula Pottinga, with Profound Growth, and she is in Florida with me. She's on the other side of the state, but she's in Florida, and it's been such a pleasure. I'm so excited to be talking with a fellow Floridian. So welcome, Ursula, to the show.
Yeah, thank you so much, Heidi, for having me. I'm very excited to talk about what can be useful for your audience. And I really like what you were saying earlier on, is we can all learn together, we can support each other. And I think as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as well as an executive in a company, that is what we need. We need support.
Absolutely. Support goes a long way. You've got to find your tribe, right? You've got to
Yes.
find your community. No matter whether you're B2C, B2B, and this is a B2B type of podcast. And I have another one which is more B2C. But at the end of the day, like, you still need to find your community and those people that are going to support you, because we don't always have that in our inner circle.
Yes.
So yes, I completely agree with you. So Ursula, can you share with us and kick off our conversation today with telling us about who you are, your business, and your role inside of your business?
Yeah, would love to. I am an executive coach, but with a very interesting specialty. I use neuroscience to help my clients understand their brain, as well as other people's brains, because when we understand what's happening, in here, we have a much better understanding about our human emotions, our reactions, and what makes us effective or not effective.
Mhm.
And so I started my business 24 years ago, and it was a little bit created because we had just moved from Canada to the United States. Both my husband and I have a hotel management background, and so over the last many, many years, we've moved a lot, countries, cities. And when we moved to the United States, I said to my husband, I need to find something that I'm passionate about, but that's portable. Because having to reinvent myself again and again and again became somewhat tiresome.
Mhm.
And so I came across coaching, fell in love with the notion of supporting and empowering people, took a course, got certified, and then, as I said, 24 years ago, started my own business that in the meantime, obviously has grown, and, we've diversified into training and leadership development and all of that. So my role within Profound Growth is I am the coach. I'm the neurotransformational coach, focusing on business leaders and executives. I have a couple of support people on my team, an assistant who deals with invoices and stuff like that, and then someone who does more PR, newsletter, helps me with my podcast and sort of nitty-gritty stuff that
Yeah.
I no longer have time for or am necessarily also not necessarily really good at it. So, these people help me keep the business going and also help me to really do what I'm passionate about rather than wasting my energy on something that I'm not good at and I'm not passionate about.
Hmm. So can you share with us more about Profound Growth? Like, what inspired you to create it? What is the meaning behind, like, what does Profound Growth mean?
Yeah, it really, really, a really great question. Um, my company, as you know, I'm sure many companies, small and medium sized, and even large companies, have go through various iterations, and that is true for profound growth. I started coaching and working with people in the hotel industry because that was my expertise. You know, I'd worked for Hilton and Marriott for many years, and that was my first love. So my focus to begin with was people in the hotel industry. And over time, I really, really discovered that the people I wanted to support the most were women leaders because they were the ones that often carry the brunt of business and career, home life, raising kids, and all of that, and the general overwhelm and stress was something that I could identify with, and it really resonated for me. So that sort of changed my focus slightly. So now I really coach mainly women in business leadership positions. Profound growth is really, it's really the passion that I have around helping people not just become more effective in business, but become better humans. There is something internally that feels so important in terms of evolution and consciousness, awareness. And so that is where the profound piece of profound growth comes in. I want our interactions to be profound, to have meaning, to not just be transactional and, you know, achieve your next goal, but have a deeper meaning. And so this profound insight that I am wanting and hoping my clients get through coaching and leadership development is important to me. And then growth happens when we can connect to our internal passion, what we're good at, as well as, you know, maybe some of the blind spots and the things that are not working. And so my passion really is about meaning, creating meaning in people's lives and not just, you know, what is the next big thing.
Mm.
And then many years later, so about 15 years ago, a good friend of mine and I looked at how can we make coaching more practical and also address the evidence of why coaching works, especially for people that are looking for evidence. You know, I coach executives and they want to know, okay, why does coaching work? And so we looked at the neuroscience of coaching, and I did a year-long training with a fairly well-known neuroscientist and someone who's working in the counseling and therapist arena. And then, you know, just studied books and podcasts, and over time, really developed sort of a body of research of saying, okay, here are some aspects of the brain that people need to understand in order to become more effective. And so now the combination of neuroscience, of research, and then classical coaching has become this intersection that I feel is really, really empowering and really helpful. It helped me in my personal life to understand what's going on in here, what's going on in the body, and sharing that with my client, I can really see creates a more effective coaching and learning space. So that's my passion. That's how profound growth evolved into, you know, what it is now and has been, you know, the last 15 years.
So can you share with us, Ursula, like who would be your ideal people to work with? So if somebody's listening
Yeah.
and they're like, oh, you know what, I
Yeah.
might, maybe I want to reach out to her, who would be the right fit for you and vice versa? Who are you the right fit?
Yeah, no, really, excellent question. It would be a woman in a leadership position, and this does not have to be C-suite. It can be at a manager level.
Mm,
Particularly a woman who is really interested to grow herself, not only as a leader, but also as a human being, and someone who's really, really curious about their own process. I really love working with people who are curious about themselves, who say, oh, I'm doing this and it's not working, and I'm wondering why this is, who are ready to step into an expanded space for themselves so that their impact on the culture that they're in, the organizational culture, the system that they're in, they have a greater impact. So impacting culture, impacting relationships, which is very important no matter what we do, and then creating more innovative new pathways forward. So those are really the three stakes within the coaching conversation: impacting culture, impacting relationships, and finding innovative ways and forging new paths forward that create different perspectives and more creativity and doing things a little bit differently. And so that really is my ideal client, the curious, engaged human being at this either mid-level or higher level, that also supervises and manages other humans, and has a small team of people that they are in charge of, and helping them understand, through neuroscience, what's
Mm.
going on in the brain of my direct reports when they're doing this or when they're not doing this. So that falls within the things that I'm passionate about, and the client that I really, really love working with.
Perfect, because that gives everyone very like a lot of clarity. So what are the biggest mindset shifts, Ursula, that leaders need to make in order to unlock their full potential?
That is such a great question. And I think that this is not new to anybody, but I want to say it anyway, especially from a neuroscience perspective. What is really important is to have a growth mindset,
Mm.
is the ability to know that, yeah, you might have been doing this for, 5 or 10 years, but if there is something that you are doing where you feel that is not really working anymore, people need to be open to be changing and to be open to change. It is unfortunate that our comfort zone gets wired in as a neural pathway. And the more we do something, it becomes just a super highway. And
Mm.
so there is an automatic doing on this super highway neural pathway that is just a comfort zone. But just because we're comfortable with it doesn't mean it's effective. It doesn't mean it's working. And so I find that when people are resistant to saying, if I were to do this differently, if I had a different perspective, a different mindset, what would be possible? So I think the ability to not be afraid of change, and I'm not telling you anything you don't know. In this world in 2025, things change faster than we can keep track of it.
Mm.
And we are often, in a business environment, we are inundated with new technology, with new ideas, with, companies merging, being taken over, different cultures, different generations working within organizations. That all requires for us to be open to change,
Mm.
because different people. I had a really lovely conversation with one of my younger clients. She's a Gen Z, of the Gen Z generation. And we had this very interesting conversation of her saying, as a Gen Z, often people see me as this disgruntled Gen Z is sitting in the corner complaining. But she said, that's not who we are. We are just curious. We want to push back. We want to be challenged. We want to challenge you. And often with other people of a different generations, that's being seen as, resistant, obnoxious, hard to work with. And so even there, understanding that different generations have a very different viewpoint on how to work, requires us to be open to change and to
Yeah.
see the world more through other people's eyes and be willing to adopt
Yeah, you
and
said a
and be
great word there.
flexible.
Yeah, you said a great word there, understanding. And when I hear understanding, that also means communication. So
Yes.
in order to understand the
Yeah.
different, because in work environments, we're going to have, and I've spoken with amazing experts just like yourself on this podcast, and I'm getting so much amazing information. I love this podcast. And you'll hear me say that if you listen to multiple interviews. I'm like, I love this podcast because I'm learning so much from all of you all.
Yeah.
That I spoke with somebody who is helping over 50, be in the workplace in
Yes.
showing organizations the power of hiring people over 50, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
creating those multi-generational teams inside of
Yes.
their organizations,
Yeah.
just like you're sharing. And that comes with understanding that you can't down someone. Like, the younger generation can go, oh, well, they're not good enough because they're not up to par on the technology, and vice
Yeah.
versa. The older generation can be like, well, they don't know what they're talking about because they don't have the experience. Instead
Yes.
of being like that, really coming together and understanding like what are the strengths that both of us have,
Yeah.
because we have different strengths and we have different
Yeah.
weaknesses. Let's focus on our strengths and let's
Yes.
have the conversation and
Yeah.
open up those lines of communication, which I think is so good. So yes, I
Yeah.
love that. So,
Yeah.
Ursula, what are some of the most common roadblocks to personal and professional growth? And how do you help leaders overcome those roadblocks?
I think there are a couple. I think one of the biggest roadblocks often are our internal conversations that we have with ourselves.
Mm.
The sort of embedded, grown up with limiting beliefs and thoughts that we have that we're not good enough. And on one spectrum, it's I'm too young, I'm not old enough. On the other spectrum, it's enough, I'm not educated enough, I don't have, there's all this chitter mind in our brain, and that internal conversation can really, really create a huge roadblock because it creates anxiety, it creates fear. We start
Mm.
doubting ourselves. We lack the courage to step outside of that comfort zone again and really look at, okay, this internal message of I'm not good enough, whatever it means, fill in the blank, what does that mean? And instead of sort of ignoring it, is actually listening to it and saying, okay, there is a message here.
Mm.
What can I learn from this internal limiting belief, and how can I move it so instead of it becoming a limit, it actually becomes empowering? And so there is work to be done, in here in our hearts as well as in our minds that really can help us look at these are often there were also messages often that we've grown up with, which then doesn't help because talk about a superhighway in your brain when you've
Right.
learned at the age of 10 that you should be quiet and not talk so much, and all of a sudden, you're 35 and you're leading a team where you need to talk and be, assertive and have a voice. And all of a sudden, it's like, but I was told for 30 years I shouldn't be so loud. So there is, even from how we grow up, our family, culture, all of that, there come messages that can really, really feel like we're carrying a whole backpack full of stones.
Mm.
And so in coaching, what is great about coaching is saying, well, let's just look at it. Let's be curious again about these messages and learning when you hear, oh, I'm too loud. Is this true? What is not true about it? How can this be shifted? And what would you like to do instead?
Mm.
So there are, the internal limiting beliefs that can really, really be a huge roadblock. So that's one thing. I think the other thing is as well that often leaders don't have a clear vision
Mm.
of who they are and what they want. So really looking at, here is the vision I have, not only for my team and my work, but also who I am. Who do I want to be a year from now, 2 years from now?
Mm.
And this bigger picture vision of our feelings, our emotions, our experience, that becomes a bit of a blueprint that then we can sort of roll back and say, okay, in order to have this vision become real, if you roll the movie back, what do you need to do this week in order to head in that direction? So I think leaders need to be revisiting their vision and the dreams that they have more often, because I think when we're doing work on a day-to-day basis, we get so stuck in the doing mode. I need to get this off my to-do list. I have 50 emails. I have 3 meetings. That that extreme focus shuts off our ability to dream. And if we don't create the space and the quietness and the calmness to tap into that part of our brain that actually helps us dream, it's going to be very, very difficult to keep along this path of being effective and actually knowing, well, like, what is the point? Why are we doing this? What is the point that I am doing this particular thing if we don't have the bigger picture in mind as well as the details?
Yeah. Yeah. So uh, I'd like to pivot a little bit into technology because that's where, we're not going to get away from it. It's only getting bigger and better. And in the coaching
Yep.
space, we're seeing it. And it's been, I would say, in the last year and a half, especially the last year, no, we're year and a half, 2024 really
Yeah.
kicked off with AI.
Yeah.
All of a sudden,
Yes.
you saw people who were doing
Yeah.
different things. Now they're
Yeah.
AI gurus, right?
Yes. Yeah,
That
totally.
being said, AI is not new. It's been going on for years and years and years. We just haven't seen it as prevalent
Yeah.
as we saw it really in the launch of 2024. So now
Yeah.
when we're talking, we're in February of 2025. So it's been about 14 months that we really saw this kick off
Yes.
in the online space. So
Yes.
my question for you is, with the rise of AI driven tools, how can leaders maintain authenticity and emotional intelligence in their leadership style?
An excellent question, because going back to this brain, uh, technology is being processed in a different part of a brain than authenticity and connection and relationships, for
Mm.
example. So it's holding these two different aspects of our lives. And it's not just technology, but it's just generally. So left hemisphere is m- more activated when we look at details, at mechanics, at specifics, at planning and organizing. And so the left hemisphere is really about details and specifics and mechanical things, anything that's to do with, mechanics. And that is where AI and technology generally fits in. It's very specific, it's non-human, if you will, and processes that information, which is different. Hemisphere is about empathy, connection, a holistic view of the world.
Mm.
And so what I am trying to do in coaching human beings to be integrated, to not just go, it's either this or that, but it's yes and. How do these two parts of your brain, the left and the right hemisphere, how can we use both sides for, which then means you have to acknowledge and work with technology, including AI, but don't forget that you have to build relationships. You have to be connected to human beings. You have to look at what are their emotions, how does show up. And these two things then combined and integrated really creates not only an empathetic leader that is connected, but also a leader that knows how to do planning and organizing and strategy. And I think the integration of various parts of the brain to create more harmony within the brain system is the key to not look at black and white,
Mm.
but looking at like what is the combination, what's the harmony here, rather than saying never do technology again or I don't care about human beings. That's not what it is. We need both.
Yeah.
And so that's true for anything and everything we do. Planning and details and P&L spreadsheets and profit and loss and numbers, they are important, but they need to be connected to the bigger picture and the holistic view we have, either on the project or the team or whatever it is.
Yeah.
If we lose one or the other, then there's something wrong with your car. You only have two wheels instead of four, for example. It's maybe not a good metaphor, but that's sort of all I have right now in terms of that. So I think that's really what I see is let's not be black and white.
Right.
Let's look at how can we put things together that they become harmonized and support each other.
So I would love to talk about business now, like the growth space of it and the things that you've learned. You've been in business for over 20 years. Like you've been
Yeah.
doing this for a very long time. So can you share with us, Ursula, like some challenges you've had or a challenge that you remember that you've had in your growth process and how you overcame it?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh, I remember the first 5 years, the first 5 years of my business. We talked earlier a little bit, Heidi, you and I, about, throwing spaghetti at the wall and
Yeah.
hoping something sticks. That is certainly what I did in the first couple of years. It's like I wasn't sure who did I want to coach, and I wasn't, even so sure that I could even coach that well. It's like expertise and trying and practicing and being brave enough to put yourself out there, even if you're not quite sure it's going to work. So the first couple of years, to be quite honest, they were rough.
Mm.
Um, but what I knew was that if I would stick with it long enough, with support and encouragement, eventually something would click. And it did. Over time, I found my niche. I found what I was passionate about. I found what I was good at. And rather than looking at the outside world and going, oh, I should be this kind of a coach or I should be doing this, I leaned more into this is what I really want to do. This is what gives me joy. This is what's fun. And the more I focused on that, the better it got.
Yeah.
So the first couple of years of experimentation uh, created some results, but certainly not the sustainable results that came after I decided, okay, these are the kind of people I want to work with. This is what I'm really good at. And therefore, this is what I need to put together.
Yeah.
So I think when you're first starting out, or let's say you're coming across a roadblock, which I still do to this day, there's still roadblocks that show up. A project that I want that I, you know, did a proposal, didn't get it. It's like, oh, I wonder why. Uh, I think the key is to look at what are you really good at and really focus on that. And that's then creates confidence and a belief, and it creates resilience. It's like looking at the roadblocks and the potholes, and instead of sort of going like, oh, I'm never going to do that again, is look at it and ask yourself, what are you learning? What are you learning through this pothole, this hurdle, this setback? And what is it telling you? And it will point you at something. It will give you wisdom.
Mm.
And I think that is wisdom that then accumulates. And now I find myself 24 years later having hurt, have a few bumps and bruises. But it has helped me now when I come across a hurdle or a pothole. It's like, oh, it's not a big deal. I've done this before.
Mm.
So next step, move on. What's next? What can I count on? So you come across a hurdle and a pothole, trust that it's giving you a message and learn from it and move on. Don't get discouraged. Don't give up. Over the last 24 years, there were moments when I wanted to give up. But just when I was wanting to give up, there was a hint from the universe, either an email or somebody calling me saying, "Y- I want to hire you. I want to have you as my coach." And I went like, "Oh, okay, maybe it's not a good idea to give up right now
Right.
because there's energy, there's
Right.
something coming
Something's
in.
happening. Yeah.
Yeah, something's happening that I need to stick with." And I'm jolly glad I did.
Yeah, I love that. Jolly glad I did.
Yeah.
I think what we need to be open to seeing the signs, and it's not woo, like people can be, oh, that's woo woo. It's not woo woo. It's actually like just being open to seeing the signs,
Yes.
allowing yourself to receive those messages that are telling you you're going in the right direction or you're
Yep.
not going in the right direction, and that's
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
And I've been seeing those signs lately too, but you have to be open to receive them, right?
Yes.
You got to be
Yeah.
willing.
Yeah.
And I think that's a
Yeah, sorry,
powerful, go
sorry
ahead.
to interrupt, Heidi, but it was just came to me. It's like I have this sort of saying, life is feedback. Life is
Mm,
just telling you. It's
yes.
constantly giving you
Yeah.
feedback. It's constantly saying, this door is open, head in this direction. This door is closed, don't go there. This is the
Right.
waste of time. This is not. Life is constantly telling us something. And as
Yeah.
you said, if you're open to that, it's really, really helpful.
Yeah. Exactly. Super powerful. So can you share with us, we talked about your challenges. Can you share with us something that's worked as far as like, it's really important. Like I'm all about visibility. That's what we help people with, strategic
Yes,
visibility,
yes,
because at the end of the day, we want to help companies drive revenue, but it starts with being visible. You have to
yeah,
be out there. And that's not something you can choose, oh, I'll do it today, but won't do it tomorrow. It's a consistent thing. And there's different
yeah,
ways of being visible and different ways of marketing. And
yes,
marketing, quote unquote, marketing is that word is getting kind of like a dirty word. People, oh, I don't want to talk
yeah,
about marketing anymore. Like I'm over
yeah,
it. Don't come to me with your marketing strategies. But at the
yes,
end of the day, you got to be marketing, you got to be
yep,
visible, which
yep,
leads to that pipeline of consistent lead gen and that
yes,
pipeline of,
yep,
okay, well, then some of those lead gen are going to convert into paying clients, which
yes,
is going to help drive revenue, which keeps our
yes,
doors open.
absolutely.
So, what's something that marketing that maybe you're doubling down on? Is there anything that you're doubling down on in 2025 or
Yeah,
anything that's really
yeah,
worked for you that you're like, this is where
yeah,
we're going?
yeah, no, absolutely. So two things. I have so I'm going to answer this in two parts. I'm
Okay.
going to answer first the marketing strategy that has worked for the last 24 years, and it is very simple. And then the one that I'm doubling down on that has been my focus or is my focus for 2025. So let's go first to what has worked for 24 years, and it's called 3 cups of tea marketing.
I love it.
And it's typical. I mean, it's just what sales and marketing is all about, is building relationships.
Mm,
And it's not just 1 cup of tea. It will require most likely three or more. So get connected to someone that you really want to get to know, but don't come with an attachment agenda.
mm,
Get to know them, get to know their challenges, get to know them personally. Don't be coming with, yeah, I want your business, especially if it's your first meeting. It will take more than 1 cup of tea. Then, a little while later, go and say, let's meet for coffee again. Or maybe it's lunch. You're building this relationship. Keep following up. Send a card, send an email. Whatever you do, keep this relationship going.
mm,
Build on it until the time comes when you feel you have a built relationship of trust and openness and curiosity, where you can say, I've been hearing you say this is a challenge you have in your business. I want to talk to you a little bit about how I might potentially be able to help. And so that 3 cups of tea marketing has worked perfectly because it's given me the permission to not write in to the conversation
Right.
with my proposals and my ideas, but it's given me permission to say, no, just take it slow. This will eventually lead somewhere. Just trust that, trust building this relationship.
Mm,
So that has worked. That is what I continue to do. And of course, the clients that I already have are my go-to marketing approach. They are the ones that will send referrals as long as I keep this relationship, 3 cups of tea marketing connection going.
hmm.
And that has worked.
Okay.
What
Great.
I want
Love
to
it.
do more of this year is be more visible on LinkedIn. I've really, to be completely transparent, I've shied away from that.
Mm,
This is one reason why I love podcasts, your podcast as well as my own. I prefer talking versus writing. I am not a good writer. So my strength is talk. So
hmm.
podcasts are ideal.
Right.
Free webinars. I do a lot with the International Coach Federation. Free webinars, sharing what I know, my expertise, with a little soft marketing touch at the end. Those are all things that are really, really working. But this year, my focus is on regular LinkedIn posts, what are, some kind of a message, a tool, an insight, something that helps other people. And
Mm.
so I've made a promise to myself to, at least post something once a week. I've been not so good at that yet, but it's only February. So
It's gonna go
it's,
fast. The year's gonna fly by
it's a
fast.
new habit. It's a
Yeah.
new habit. So
It's
I
a
need to,
habit. Yeah.
keep at it. And so that's my intention for this year. And my support people, help me do this. And I'm really quite proud of myself that,
Yeah.
I've been doing at least something, maybe not as often as I said I would, but I'm doing something. So
Yeah,
all
and
good.
I'm proud of you too, because it's scary to do something new. And especially on a platform, like people are like, oh, it's social media. No, there's some platforms that are scarier than others, and I get that.
Yeah.
It's easy to go onto a platform that you're very comfortable on, and most people will
Yeah.
start there. And that's a mistake that many people make. They'll start on a
Mm,
platform that they're comfortable on, but their ideal client may not be hanging out there. So you're
yes.
doing all the things on, and then they get burnt out and they're wondering, why isn't this working? Well, your people
Yeah.
aren't there. So you're comfortable there.
Really, that is really a good point
Yeah.
because my business partner and I've been talking about, should we do Instagram and it is always, we always come back to exactly what you're saying. Where are the clients that we want to work with? Where are they hanging out? And it's not necessarily, at least for us, and for many of your listeners, I'm sure Instagram works beautifully. It's That's not where our clients are. So, we find that it really is more LinkedIn. It's not even Facebook anymore. It's
Yeah.
really that is really the platform that we want to use. And speaking, public speaking is a great way again for us. But if you listener, if you are a good writer and that's what you love to do, do that. If
Right.
you love to talk, talk. Don't do something that you hate.
Right.
Because
Exactly.
you're never going to do something you absolutely go like, oh my gosh, no,
Yeah.
I can't do this.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ursula. I was listening to a video in a talk from Gary Vee. He was in Mexico. I think it was Mexico City. You can, for you listening, it was in January. I don't know when this is going to come out. We're talking in February right now with Ursula and I. We're most likely you're gonna probably hear this in April or May possibly. But if you go back to January on YouTube, Gary Vee was talking in Mexico City, and he flat out said, you need to be in social media. I don't care what business you have, and you need to be visible and you need to be on video. But he's an extrovert. And he also has 20 people on his team, which he admits doing his content every day. That being said, he goes, if you are not like me and you have a problem being on video or going live, then write, put
Yes.
content out there, but do
Yes.
something. He's like, you
Yeah.
have to be doing something.
Yes.
And I completely agree.
Yeah.
You and I are on the same page with this. Content is king. I don't
Yeah.
put out enough content. That's one thing I get to work on. I help other people get visible. I love that. It's my jam. But when it
Yeah.
comes to me doing it, and I'm sure
Yeah.
you're the same way, like we're good at telling people what to do and helping them do it, but it's
Yeah.
not always, we're so busy helping them that we're not
Yeah.
helping ourselves. So,
Yeah.
and if you're in the same boat, that's normal. So you need
Yeah.
to hire people like me or like Ursula that can help you do
Yeah.
that. Because if you
Yeah.
can't do it yourself, you need to be hiring people that
Yeah.
can do it. Because we can't
Yeah.
always do what we should be doing for ourselves,
Yeah.
as good as we can do it for other people, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Um,
no, and having a support team,
is
that
big,
is,
is huge.
it's huge. I have someone who, makes the podcast look pretty,
Mm,
and
yeah,
she showed me how to use AI for a tip sheet that goes along with the podcast and stuff like that. And she keeps me on track, so that I don't lose, what am I doing this month and next month, and so. And to your point and to the point of your January guest, content needs to be out there, but don't force yourself doing something that you really don't like.
right.
Back to YouTube, YouTube channel, again, if you love to talk and you don't want to talk just to yourself, then invite somebody. Invite somebody talk to, because that creates energy and creates great conversation,
Right.
talking to Heidi being a really good example,
Right. No, it's so true. It's
right?
hard for people. It's very hard for me. My producer tells me all the time, you need to do solos. And I'm like, I don't like talking to myself.
I
I
know,
love the
I
interviews.
know.
But it's not getting me out there like I should. And I totally get that. So I like for me, and I'll share this, and I know that you said LinkedIn, we're doubling down on LinkedIn as well this year. And
Yeah,
also YouTube. For us, LinkedIn
yes,
and YouTube are our place.
yeah,
We were Facebook and Instagram. But we have pivoted. We've created an agency and we're more B2B now than B2C. Not that we don't
yes,
work B2C, but we're more B2B now. So we're doubling down on LinkedIn and YouTube.
yeah,
And for those of you listening, and I'm sure Ursula, like YouTube is a great place, no matter if you're B2C or you're B2B, you
yeah,
should be on YouTube because if you're B2B, LinkedIn, if you're
yeah.
B2C, maybe it's Facebook, maybe it's Instagram, maybe it's, I know B2B, there's B2B out there that are on Pinterest. So that's a
Oh,
great place
interesting.
that, yes, that's a great place that people aren't
Oh,
taking
that
advantage of.
actually that I have. It's so funny, and it's again mindset. When I think Pinterest, I think decorating.
Yeah. No, there's people out there on Pinterest and I just spoke with somebody, I think it was yesterday. He's doing Pinterest and it's working for them. And then there's also the obviously TikTok and then there's the
Yeah,
other one that's up and coming. But you just need to find where your lane is,
yeah,
where are your
yeah,
people hanging out, focus
yeah.
on that, and then focus on one or two and go double down on those. And then you
Yes,
can grow and expand and bring in team like Ursula has
yeah,
that you can start dribbling out. If you don't have a podcast, we're not going to get into that right now. Ursula has a podcast. I have two. You need to be doing podcasts. And if you want information on that, come to me. We can help you set
yeah,
that up. So easy.
yeah.
But Ursula, last question, because I know we're running out of time. Oh my gosh, we went over. I'm so sorry.
No, it's
Real
totally
quick,
fine. I
you
enjoy
okay?
talking to you. You need
Okay.
to shut me. You need to shut me up because I can talk. I can
We're
talk to
both.
you for another hour, so that's probably
Well,
not going to be a good idea.
I just want to be respectful of your time. We're both Eastern Standard Time, so I know, and it's 5 p.m. here that we're talking. So, do you have anybody right now that you have to jump off?
No, I don't.
Okay.
My next isn't until 6,
Okay,
so
well,
I've
we're
got
gonna
I've
wrap
got
up in
time.
10 now. We're gonna wrap up, but I have one more question for you, and
Yeah.
that is, oh, I have two. I have two. So if you had, because I shared this with you before, if you had
Mm,
fairy dust, I usually say the magic wand, but for some
mm.
reason with you, I want to say sprinkle fairy dust because we're in Florida, Disneyland,
Yeah,
Tinkerbell.
yeah.
If you had the fairy, and I just saw Peter Pan with my kids last week, so I'm in the Peter Pan mode. If you had fairy dust that you could sprinkle over and poof, take away one issue that you're having in your business right now, what would that be?
You know, I know this is going to sound silly, but it's fairy dust and poof. Um, More time.
Mm,
And I tell my clients that's just an excuse because we all get 24 hours and you need to decide what's important to you. So, I need to eat my own advice. Uh, but I think what I really mean by that is I really, if this was the magic, sprinkle dust, it would really, I would love for my business just to have a little bit more space.
mm,
I mean, I am very intentional how much I take on, but you might get already a little bit of this energy, but I'm also really interested in lots of things. I'm a Gemini. There's always another new thing out there that I want to explore and do and change, and so all these temptations of
yeah.
novelty, they sometimes really sort of get in the way. So, if I could and have really the magic, I would really love just a few more hours in the day. And since that's not possible, I think certainly this year I have really started to look at what do I need to say no to.
Yeah.
And
Setting those
therefore
boundaries,
I can
setting
say
boundaries.
yes. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can listen and do this one thing just a little better. So
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a good answer, but that's really what I would want.
No, it's a great answer. And many of us, I think, are in the same boat. And that, I've heard when you feel like, and I always say that I don't have enough time. And when people, and I've heard people like experts in the whole leadership space say, when you say you don't have enough time, you have an intimacy problem. Because it's hard to get like there's never enough time. There's always things happening where you can't get intimate and dig into one thing. And
Hmm.
I'm like, oh, that's kind of true with me, I would say. Like that's something I get to work on. But then and I feel like there's not enough hours in the day either. And so I don't think that that's a great answer because I think there's many of us out there who are
Yeah,
listening to you right now and going, yeah,
yeah,
I feel the same way. It's not
yeah,
something that, specific tangible. It's I wish I had more time. But that
yeah,
being said, there is a way to create a tangible around that
yeah,
specific non-tangible.
yes,
And what is
yeah,
that? And maybe that's, and this is perfect timing. Like you said, the universe brings you what you need. You're
yeah.
saying this right now. And this morning, I don't know, I think it was, I wake up in the middle of the night and I like a 3 or 4 in the morning sometimes, and I can't sleep for an hour. So I'm scrolling and I'm like, what pops up? And something came up where it was, what was it? It was around time. And now I can't think of it. I just had it and poof, it was gone. That fairy dust came in and took it away, but I will remember
It
it.
came in and
But
stole your
it
thoughts.
stole my time and stole my thoughts. But no, it's around prioritizing. What
Yeah,
is
yeah,
that one thing
yeah,
that you need to get done
yeah,
today and
yeah.
and making that the first thing you get done? Because
Yes,
many times not having enough time means we're just procrastinating on that
yeah,
one thing that we don't want to get
yeah,
done that we should really make sure it's the first thing
yeah,
done. So that
yeah,
kind of is like what happened for me when I was listening to you.
yeah,
I'm like, you know what? When I say I don't have enough time, it's because I've been pushing it off and pushing it off and pushing it off. And now I'm like, I wish I had more
yeah,
time to get it done. But no, such a good answer. And thank you for that because
yeah.
that's not
No,
an
you're
answer that
welcome.
I've gotten so far. And I think it's really important because there's
Yeah,
many more people out there that feel the same way. My
absolutely.
last question for you, and I promised 10 minutes and we're getting close. What's my last question? Oh, if we were able to revisit this conversation, come back in a year and sit down, you and I again, what would success look like for you, Ursula, inside of your
Yeah,
business?
success would definitely be that I've followed through on content on LinkedIn,
Yes.
and that I have managed to produce good content and a good message that has really increased my work in terms of working with teams, not just individuals. I want to do more with groups.
Mm.
I do a fair amount of that right now, but it's really fascinating to work with multiple people that are in the same team, that are in the same organization. The ripple effect of working with more than one person is really what I'm interested in. So a year from now is saying, yes, Ursula, you did content well on LinkedIn at least twice, three times a month, and it has led you to a visibility where more people are wanting to know about your group work.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Ursula, for being here today. Can you share with us, our listeners, how they can reach out to you and connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a website, profoundgrowth.com. You can also reach me via email or LinkedIn, Ursula Pottinga. Profound Growth. It's very easy to find. And then check out my website. There is a tab for the podcasts. They're all lined up on my website. So if you're interested, take a look there, like it, comment it, send me a message. I would love to hear from you.
Amazing. So reach out to Ursula, connect with her, let her know that you heard her here on the Business Growth
Yes,
Spotlight podcast. If you are
yes,
watching us on YouTube, please subscribe and comment below. Send Ursula and I a comment. If you're
yeah.
listening to us on your favorite podcast platform like Apple, Spotify, Amazon, or any of the other amazing platforms, please leave us a review. If it's a good one, we would love to hear from you. Please leave us a 5-star review and
Yes,
definitely connect with Ursula. And if you are struggling with your visibility, like we were talking about today, and you want to amplify that, and you're just like, I don't been feel like I'm doing all the things and I don't know what to do next, then go grab your Spotlight to Scale blueprint. You can go to spotlighttoscale.com/blueprint. It's a free download. It will walk you through the steps on what you can do. If you want a customized version, feel free to reach out to me. And we really thank you for being part of our show today and joining Ursula and I. And again, reach out to Ursula. It's Ursula Pottinger. We're also going to have all of Ursula's links and contact information in our show notes. Ursula, can you repeat your website one more time for everyone?
yes, it's profoundgrowth.com. And I want
Profoundgrowth.com.
to thank you, Heidi. Anyone who's listening who want to be on a podcast, don't know how to do it, Heidi is your go-to person. She's a fabulous interviewer, makes it super easy, not complicated, not time consuming, and it's super fun.
Thank you so much, Ursula.
Yeah,
That means a lot to
totally.
me. Can you share your podcast so we can promote that as well? Because you shared you
Yeah,
have, so let's share it.
it's profound growth.
Perfect.
It's called What Comes into Focus.
Amazing. See, she
Yeah,
makes everything super simple. So
yeah,
thank you,
very
Ursula,
simple.
for that. That was
Okay,
awesome.
sweetie.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much.
much.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Stay
you.
here. Don't leave. Don't leave.
Okay, I won't
Okay.
leave.
Thank you for listening. And we'll see you on the next episode of the Business Growth Spotlight.